Hi, my name is Isabel Sexton, and today I'll be comparing and contrasting the external and internal features of the crayfish and the squid. And to start off, we'll look at some symmetries in their symmetry. They both have bilateral symmetry. If you cut a line from the anterior end to the posterior end, you'll see that they're symmetrical on both sides. Same goes for the squid. If you straighten it out, you cut a line right down the center, you'll see it's symmetrical on both sides as well. They are both triploblastic as well as colomates. However, they do differ in their body plans. Crayfish, they have a cephalothorax and an abdomen, as well as jointed appendages and an exoskeleton, which they molt periodically, typically before mating season. And on the other hand, you have the squid, which does not have an exoskeleton. Its body plan consists of a trunk, head, and appendages, which are the 8 legs right here, and the 2 longer tentacles. And for the digestive systems, they both have complete digestive systems. For focusing more on the crayfish, you see the initial point of ingestion starts at the mouth right here, goes down the esophagus, and into the stomach, which is the major source of digestion for both mechanical and chemical digestion. And then it goes on to the intestine, which is where the nutrients are absorbed. And then the waste exits the body of the crayfish through the anus. Now, looking at the squid's digestive system, you can see it's a lot more complex, a lot more organs are involved, but just like the crayfish, point of ingestion starts at the mouth, and then it goes in, you can see there's the beak, it goes through the beak into the esophagus, and then it goes onto the liver, which helps metabolize carbs, as well as detoxify any possible toxins that may have been ingested. And then it's passed on to the pancreas, which helps break down any carbs, proteins, or lipids. And then it's passed on to the stomach. And just like the crayfish, another is the major point of digestion. And it's passed on to the cecum, which for the squid is similar to the stomach, is a major source of digestion. And it's passed on to the intestine, which just like the crayfish is responsible for absorbing nutrients. And it's passed down to the rectum, which absorbs any water from the waste to form that solid fecal matter, which is then exited from the body through the anus. Now, their circulatory systems and their respiratory systems are very different. Crayfish have an open circulatory system, while squids have a closed circulatory system. There is an obvious difference in their level of complexity regarding their systems, which can be explained by their different lifestyles. Crayfish are nocturnal hunters and scavengers, so they do not have as much need for increased blood flow and oxygen flow. That's why they have one heart, several arteries, but no veins, and their legs have developed to where their walking movement will help bring in oxygen into their body. And on the other hand, squids are hunters. They are predators, and they depend on their speed to feed and survive. This increased movement requires more blood flow and oxygenation, which is why they have 3 hearts. They have one systemic heart for transporting oxygenated blood throughout the body, and 2 brachial hearts for providing increased blood flow to each gill. And moving on to the reproductive systems, as you can see, we had a male crayfish right here. You can tell by the copulatory spermarets right there. And as was just mentioned, male crayfish have copulatory spermarets that release sperm into the female crayfish's seminal receptacle, which would be right here. And female crayfish still do have these smaller spermarets right here for holding her fertilized eggs. And as for squids, male squids have a penis. As you can see, we had a male squid right here. You can tell by the testes. And male squids, they release a spermatophore, which contains sperm inside, into the female squid's sperm receptacle. And once the cap of the spermatophore is removed, the sperm is released inside the female and it fertilizes her eggs. Now, for both the crayfish and the squid, fertilization occurs internally, but gestation occurs in different forms. A female crayfish protects her fertilized eggs and aids in their successful development by protecting them until they're mature enough to venture out on their own. And on the other hand, as soon as eggs are fertilized in the female squid, her fertilized eggs are released to the environment to develop on their own without any protection at all, so they're just completely left to fend for themselves. And that is all I have for today. Thank you for listening.